or this question here either. Brother will get Robert's Rules of Order. He'll find that if you want to limit debates, you must move the previous question, and then the opposition has 5 minutes and the proponents have 5 minutes. Getting back down to what I was saying, that our Constitution specifically says that if we propose to amend this Constitution, local unions that have elected you and I here, central bodies and Building Trades Council and others that are affiliated, should have had this subject matter before them since February the 15th to instruct you in what manner they wanted you to amend this Constitution. And that having not been done, that the Constitution is not being complied with, and that no committee action can be done, because you still would have had to taken action sufficiently in advance to have complied with what the Constitution provides. And I further say that the action on Monday afternoon in approving Part 1 of this resolution totally fails to comply with the Constitution. So I merely call your attention to the fact that if you're going to travel according to the blue book that you set out to control our routine and our procedure, then this matter is wholly unwarranted in being before this convention at this time.
Before I recognize another speaker on this question before the House, I want to again clarify the situation that we're in and what's already been done in the convention, and I regret very much that Brother Bruton wasn't in the convention yesterday afternoon when this question I thought had been resolved. Now, this convention has always operated under the assumption that a committee had the authority to present a resolution before the convention, and it would be in order in that fashion. This is not the first constitutional change that has been presented before this convention. The convention here has already considered several resolutions of this nature, and now we are going to be told that the resolution is out of order. Your executive board received a copy of a resolution from the Jackson Central Labor Union requesting a 5-cent increase in per capita tax, which I deem was a constitutional change. It came in before the 30-day, after the 30-day time had run out. I went before the committee and advised them of that fact, and that in order for this resolution to be considered by the convention, that it would be necessary for the committee itself to bring that resolution out. That was the way that resolution was handled. I see nothing different today in regards to the resolution before you. Yesterday, the convention upheld my ruling in that respect, and today we have the same question before you. It appears to me that this question again has to be resolved as to whether or not you have the constitutional right to make this correction or this change at this time. Who wants it?
Mr. Chairman.
Brother, state your name.
According to W.O. Stanley, delegate from Communications Workers of America, Jackson, Mississippi. Reading also from Article 12, Section 2, same thing that the previous speaker, Brother Bruton, referred to. There's two situations covered in that, and it's very clear to me that the Constitution can be amended by proposals submitted by locals, by delegates, by bodies, and it gives some time limits. February the 1st, February the 15th. But the Constitution does not tie the hands of a convention, Constitution committee, which has the vested power and authority to propose any amendment it deems proper, and is not, and the intent of the Constitution is very clear to me, that there's no intent for that Constitution committee to have to comply with the February the 1st or the February the 15th day. Reasoning being simply this, that sometime today or tonight, when we get through here, this present Constitutional Committee will be discharged by this convention. and we will not have an existing or standing constitutional committee that can propose any constitutional amendments prior to February the 1st of 1961 or 62 or any year. And to me, it's very clear that this convention has the authority to act upon this proposition that is being presented by this duly constituted constitutional committee. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Just a minute. That is my interpretation of the Constitution. That's the reason that I allowed the matter on the floor and before the convention in the beginning. Brother, state your name, please.
W.L. Hines, Barbers Local 792, Hattiesburg. I have never seen any convention of what couldn't change the Constitution when they're in annual conventions. We've always changed our Constitution. The delegates assembled has power to do anything with the Constitution they see fit because they're elected by their local unions to come here and do just that if it's necessary. What if the American Federation of Labor and Congress of Industrial Organization would go in session and they couldn't change the Constitution and bylaws of that body without going back and sending out a referendum to the rank and file members of the international unions? It just don't make sense that this body has got its hands tied regardless of what may have been put in here. That's given the local unions, as I see it, an opportunity to send in any change that they see fit. If it's some individual local union that wants to change it, sure, they're sending that resolution in by an expression from that local. But there's nothing in this Constitution, I don't think, that ties the hands of the body itself. Therefore, I think this body's got a right to change any part of this Constitution, regardless of whether they have a resolution here from the local union or central body or not. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
E.L.
Barnes, Pascagoula. I have talked to Brother Bruton and have given him a chance to reconsider his reading of the Constitution interpretation, because I might have to accuse Brother Bruton of not being entirely honest in his memory. 2 years ago in convention, there was a proposal brought forward by the Committee on Constitution and Bylaws to change Article 6, Section 1, and that is the election, nomination and election of officers. Well, the committee reported their resolution out. Brother Bruton supported that resolution from the floor. Now, why he has changed in his interpretation of the Constitution, I do not know. But I want to read you the last line in the Constitution. The Convention Constitution Committee shall be vested with authority to propose any amendment it deems proper.
The motion before the House is to refer Resolution 1A back to the committee with instructions. That's the motion before the House. Are you ready for the question? You, Brother Bruton.
Brother Barnes has called the attention to the convention to the fact that I supported the constitutional amendment here 2 years ago. As I recall, 2 years ago, I spoke on no change in the Constitution. I believe it was in Jackson that I spoke on a change in the Constitution.
Correct.
4 years ago, or 3 years ago.
3 years. Well, he's
Now,
corrected me. 2 years ago.
2 years ago, all right, not the last convention, but the Jackson Convention. That resolution emanated from a convention committee authored by the Bylaws Committee, as he has correctly stated. I directed your attention at the outset that this resolution did not emanate from such a committee, and I read the last section, the last sentence that he has read, that Brother Stanley has read. I called your attention further to the fact that this is part 2 of the original resolution number 1, and in its present form, still subdivided, it still says that it comes from the Jackson Central Labor Union, Jackson County Labor Union, not from
Question
the
of privilege,
convention
Mr. Chairman.
committee.
What's just a minute. What you interrupt the speaker for?
I understand that the delegates have to give the name and the local that they're from. Is Brother Bruton a delegate? I didn't see a badge on him nowhere. I just wondered about it.
I don't think you are that ignorant on the proposition, Fred. I'm an accredited delegate to this body, and I
Well-
had already previously spoken, announced who I represented, and so forth.
That's
That
the reason
right,
I asked
Mr.
for the question
Chairman?
of privilege.
Brother Bruton is an accredited delegate, I'll assure you that, even though he don't have his
Did I
badge
not
on.
identify myself initially, sir?
That's good enough. We'll let you go. Go ahead.
But I
Frank.
just want to say that this resolution still is not officially before this body in accordance with the Constitution, in that it does not emanate from a convention committee, sir. That's my position.
Well, of course, that is a recognized fact, and that's the question before the House as to whether or not the resolution is being presented in its proper form. And I'd like to ask the delegates to refrain from dealing in personalities, please. Brother Holloway.
K.M. Holloway, Local 733, IBEW, Pascagoula. The motion that is before us now is to refer it back to the committee so it can come out according to the Constitution. So that's the motion that's before us now.
I thought the chairman had made that clear. That is the motion before the House to refer this back to the committee for further consideration along those lines. Do we have any further discussion? The question's been called for. All in favor of the motion, please let it be known by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? I don't know what we had all that debate about. The motion's carried. Yes. Brother Doggett.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to call a meeting of the Constitution and Bylaws Committee immediately in our committee room. Immediately, please.
Mr. Chairman,
Brother Bruton.
for Brother Fred's information over there, Claude Bruton, delegate of CLU Jackson. I move you, sir, that the action of this convention of yesterday approving Part 1 of this resolution be rescinded, and further that resolution then be referred to this committee in order that it be a proper article before this convention.
You've heard that motion. I don't think that it's necessary to have another explanation. We've had that already. It's the same procedure that's being followed with 1A. The motion is to rescind action that was taken yesterday and also have this one referred to the committee for proper consideration.
Mr. Chairman.
Brother Flint.
Wayne Flint, Local Union 407, Pascagoula, Sheet Metal Workers International Association. I offer you a motion that this motion be tabled.
You have a motion to table the motion to rescind and refer action taken by yesterday on Resolution 1. This motion is not debatable. Are you ready for the question? All in favor of the motion to table, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? No. The noes seem to have it. Gentlemen, I'd just like to make you this statement that it won't take but just a little longer to handle this one the same way as you're handling the other one, so let's get rid of the whole thing at one time.
Mr. Chairman,
Brother Edwards.
am I in order that a motion that was passed day before yesterday can be rescinded 2 days later, or does it have to be the next day?
I would rule that the motion would be in order inasmuch as the convention has been in continuous session. Where the convention to adjourn certainly would not be in order. I rule that the motion was in order. The motion to table has been defeated. The motion before the House now is to refer action or rescind action on Resolution 1 and refer it also to the committee for study. That's the motion before the House now. You ready for the question? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. All opposed? Motion carried and so ordered. Brother Doggett, you and your committee can consider both parts of Resolution 1. Thank you. Maybe we can get something that won't be quite so controversial for a change. I'm going to ask the chairman of the Resolutions Committee, Brother Taylor, if he is ready to give us a report, the Resolutions Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Delegates will please refer and locate resolution number 6. Resolution number 6. We only have 5 of these resolutions, and we're, of course, hopeful that they're not too controversial, that we'll have a few minutes of reasonable tranquility. Resolution number 6, submitted by the Executive Board. The subject is local union affiliation. The major functions of a state central body, such as the Mississippi Labor Council, AFL-CIO, are in the service fields of political education, legislation, labor education, community services, and public relations. And whereas the Mississippi Labor Council, AFL-CIO, and we have deleted the word body, is the only agency in position to coordinate and direct an effective program for continued progress through these important activities. No single local union or group of locals of one or a few internationals can carry the load for themselves or for the entire state labor movement. And whereas in a period which has witnessed an all-out attempt by organized labor's traditional enemies to weaken and eventually to destroy the labor movement through restrictive legislation and the state, we have inserted the word state there to read, and the state and nationwide campaign which has resulted in passage of additional anti-labor laws by the Congress and legislatures of 19 states, the need for a strong, united, and effective political organization is obvious if relief from the legislative yoke is to be achieved, and whereas to exert the utmost influence of which the Mississippi Labor Council, AFL-CIO, is capable, and we have inserted after the word capable, through its political program, then continuing to read, it is now more necessary than ever that all local unions join in a concerted attempt to combat the many attacks which, if allowed to continue, may finally place all unions in the category of dues-paying organizations with no power to protect. We've inserted the word there, T-H-E-I-R, to protect their members from employer exploitation, and we have added the word abuses. And whereas there remains a substantial number of eligible locals of various international unions in this state which have failed to recognize their duties and responsibilities to provide for their members the type of service offered only through the Mississippi Labor Council, AFL-CIO, and whereas, although they receive the benefits of a well-planned and greatly expanded service program made possible through a united labor movement, they constitute a handicap to maximum effectiveness of the Mississippi Labor Council AFL-CIO, and whereas, and we have deleted that first phrase there as a matter of fact, to read, whereas local unions which neglect or refuse to participate fully in the overall activities of the, and we have inserted the word Mississippi Labor Council in the margin, to read, participate fully in the overall activities of the Mississippi Labor Council AFL-CIO. We changed the word in and made the word off, OF, of this state are free riders taking advantage of the affairs of sister unions without contributing a fair share of the cost. Whereas during this era of renewed attacks on labor's rights and privileges, direct lines of communications among all local unions are necessary for the greatest influence in the political, legislative, labor education, community service, and public relations fields. Now, therefore, be it resolved and we have inserted the words that the delegates assembled in this fourth annual convention to read that the delegates assembled in this fourth annual convention of the Mississippi Labor Council AFL-CIO invites and strongly urges all local unions not presently affiliated to join with the Mississippi Labor Council AFL-CIO and the appropriate local central body at once to help build a more solid and effective union structure as visualized by the founders of the labor movement. Be it further resolved that this fourth annual convention of the Mississippi Labor Council AFL-CIO directs the executive, and we have inserted the word officers, and to make it to read, in order to make it to read, direct the executive officers and the board members of this council to contact the officers, and we have inserted the word and members, to read, contact the officers and members of all of the affiliated local in their area and encourage immediate action on joining the Mississippi Labor Council AFL-CIO to help build a more effective organization which can speak directly for all AFL-CIO members. The committee concurs in the resolution, and I move its adoption.
You've heard the committee's report. The motion is to adopt as corrected. Do we have a second on the motion? We do have a second. Do we have any discussion on the motion? You ready for the question?
Mr. Chairman.
Brother Hanna?
Mr. Chairman, I'm not going to condemn this resolution, being one of the resolution members. I just wanted to point out to the people here assembled that this is an issue that you can go right back to that we talked about yesterday when we was trying to raise money. And I want to point out again, I believe that almost every international union that is represented here, with what few locals affiliated, there is some in that international union that's not affiliated. And we have 157 non-affiliated local unions in the state of Mississippi, while we have 151 affiliated, and that looks pretty bad. Let's try to do better than that.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. All opposed by the same sign. Motion carried and so ordered. I would also like to request that all of the delegates here assist your officers in getting these locals into your organization, because with your help, I believe it can be done. Chairman Taylor.
Resolution number 8, submitted by the Executive Board. Subject is Farm Labor Unity. Resolution number 8. The American labor movement has always sought to stand with and to assist those who work in agriculture, the independent farmer who owns his land, the tenant and the hired farm workers. And whereas it is only natural that working people should have a feeling of kinship with those who produce the nation's food. Thousands of Mississippi AFL-CIO members grew up on farms, and some still live on farms while working part or full-time at other occupations. And whereas the farmer is the custodian of the most basic of our natural resources, the soil. All of us, wherever we may live, have a responsibility for seeing that our land and its fertility, we've changed the word there. Instead of using the word are, we've inserted should be to read its fertility should be preserved. And whereas workers in the cities and on the farm share many common problems, wage and salary earners face income insecurity due to recessions, automation, illness, accidents, old age, and the failure of the economy to expand fast enough to enable all those who seek jobs to find them. For us, a decent income and security depend upon hard work, union organization, and effective legislative action. And whereas farmers, on the other hand, are caught on the treadmill of rising costs and production and falling prices and income. Although the technological revolution in agriculture now makes a vast increase in farm output possible, we have neither found a way to utilize this great blessing so that more of the needed home and overseas can be better fed, nor do we provide a fair return to those whose work produce it. And whereas farmers as well as organized workers continue to be the constant victims of propaganda circulated against them, and whereas while farmers are told that union wages are responsible for inflation, the same voices spread rumors about Cadillac farmers and a ceaseless effort to discredit all government programs designed to improve the lot of those who work on the farm. And whereas workers in the city are victims, not the cause of inflation, and as for Cadillac farmers, they are few and far between. And whereas the emergency in agriculture is not of the farmer's making, unless it is charged that he works too hard and too well. The real source of the crisis on our farms is the failure of the present administration to provide leadership or even cooperation in a genuine effort to revamp national agricultural policies to meet present-day needs. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Mississippi Labor Council, AFL-CIO, and we have inserted the word and affiliates, will continue to support legislation designed to give the people who work in agriculture their just share of the support of our increasingly abundant economy. Similarly, can't pronounce that word, we anticipate that farmers, their leaders, and spokesmen in the federal Congress and state legislature will recognize and give consideration to the problems of city workers. In the past, some who allege that they speak for farmers, unfortunately, have not. And be it further resolved, we pledge our support particularly for measures to maintain and strengthen the family-type farm, including a system of price supports based, wherever possible, on production payments aimed at the support of the family farm and low price to consumers. In the future, however, a reasonable ceiling should be placed on the total amount of aid that farm enterprise may receive. The unjustified bonanza paid out to a handful of giant commercial farms under existing federal programs is now being used to discredit all federal aid, even for the family-sized farms that continue to need it to survive. And be it finally resolved, and we have inserted this phrase, that the officers of the Mississippi Labor Council be directed to inaugurate, where appropriate, a series of meetings with the leaders of farm organizations in this state where there can be mutual discussion by farmers and workers alike and an opportunity to refute the propaganda unfairly leveled against both groups. The committee concurs in this resolution as read and corrected, and I move its adoption.
You've heard the committee's report. The motion is to adopt the resolution. Do we have a second? We have a second. Do we have any discussion on the motion? Brother Hanna.
Brother Chairman, J.B. Hanna of the Executive Board. Just a few comments to make it clear that this resolution, the intent and purpose is to, of course, start with the ground roots or the grassroots of the farmer. Because if you will look into the little pamphlet that I put out here pertaining to certain resolutions that we had prepared, here is a pretty educational editorial by Roscoe Fleming. Says, "One law for you and another for me because I'm better for you." This is good information because it points out the need for educating the smaller farmers at the lower level because they're organized in bureaus. They of course, got a local bureau and a state bureau and a national bureau. Now, we know that the National Bureau and also the state bureaus are fighting to place unions under antitrust laws. And they're doing everything they can to put them there, yet they want to still continue to be exempt because they're incorporated or organized under the Volstead Act. And as you know, the Farm Bureau has been always on the side of the Mississippi Manufacturing Association here, the MEC, and the national organization has been with the NAM to pass restrictive legislation such as right to work, antitrust, and any restrictive legislation that they can on labor. So I would urge all of you to try to educate your neighbor who may be a small farmer that we are not enemies of the farmer and that their enemies are the Cadillac farmers, and the one that's, in other words, there's more millionaires and money being made out of processing than there are producing. So the man that's producing the milk, the creamers take the cream, that's right. He don't get but a little bit left. So let's try to tell them and educate them to that extent. I just wanted to point that out. This is information that you should read and digest. It's worthwhile. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Hanna. I'd like to ask somebody to pull that curtain too back there. That sun's hitting that car top, and I can't see the delegates, so I'm afraid I'll miss somebody here. Blinding me up here. Thank you. Do we have any other discussion on the resolution? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. All opposed by the same sign. Motion carried and so ordered. Brother Taylor.
This is resolution number 11. And if you run across number 12, hold on to it. Maybe we can kind of speed things up just a little bit. Resolution number 11, submitted by IWA Local 470 Jackson, CWA Local 3511 Jackson, subject taxation. Whereas the bosses and executives of the industry and big business in this nation and state are fast becoming millionaires and multimillionaires by crawling through some of the big tax loopholes that Congress and the state legislature put into the income tax law for them. Whereas under House Bill number 24 as passed by the House of Representatives, a bill to abolish the Mississippi income tax of 6% at the rate of 1.5% yearly for 12 years, thereby completely eliminating the income tax. This far exceeded the legislative program of the Mississippi Manufacturers Association, wherein they were willing to pay 4% income tax. And whereas House Bill number 24, after being amended in the Mississippi State Senate to set a 3% floor on the income tax repeal, still provides a tax windfall of approximately $15 million annually. We've corrected that. It was originally biannually. But the fact of the matter is that it should be deleted and to read annually. To these special interest groups, and whereas in 1946 legislation was enacted to eliminate ad valorem taxes for a period of 10 years for any new industry coming to the state and later amended to provide any expansion of the industry prior to the end of the 10-year period, which would give said industry another 10 years of tax-free operation. Whereas some of our largest income tax savers under House Bill number 24 are still enjoying this ad valorem tax exemption. And whereas with the low per capita income of Mississippi for the year of 1958 being only $1,052, and number 50, in rating in these United States, the low-income individuals and families of the state of Mississippi are already unjustly burdened by the sales tax. And whereas such taxes are collected without fair consideration of the ability to pay, but levied regardless of ability to pay, and whereas it is entirely possible that when the state legislatures reconvenes in 1962, there may be bills introduced to further tax the unjustly burdened individuals and families in order to, and we've changed the word regain to the word recoup, in order to recoup lost taxes that they have given to these special interest groups. And whereas many sources of revenue still exist upon which taxes may be levied and collected in accordance with the individual's or corporation's ability to pay, and among these sources for additional revenue are proper tax on large proper tax on large land and timber holdings by the large corporations, increased timber, and there was a typographical error there. They meant to make severance instead of the word source, and we have so corrected it. Increased timber severance tax, gas and oil severance tax, insurance premium tax, legalization of liquor and tax thereon, and plugging loopholes in the income tax laws. Also proper assessments on the present personal and real property. And we have deleted the two words tax laws and have inserted and added to the following words: based on equitable appraisals, which would read proper assessments on the present personal and real property based on equitable appraisals. Now therefore be it resolved that the Mississippi Labor Council, AFL-CIO, assembled in convention, reaffirm its opposition to a regressive tax structure and urge the Mississippi Legislature at its 1962 session, or when the increased tax question may arise, to restore a tax law and structure for the state of Mississippi based on the ability to pay. And be it further resolved that we send copies of this resolution to all members of the state legislature, the governor, the lieutenant governor, secretary of state. The committee concurs in the resolution as read and corrected, and I move its adoption.
You've heard the committee's report. The motion is to adopt the resolution as corrected. Do we have a second? We have a second. Do we have any discussion on the motion? If not, Brother Hannon.
Mr. Chairman, I hate to be always jumping up here discussing these, but there might be a question raised under some of the whereases, and with reference particularly to even the governor of our great state of Mississippi with his great industrial union program. He said, for the people, he proposed to eliminate the tax completely, as pointed out, and I have here in my hands a copy of the legislative program of the Mississippi Manufacturers Association, of which referred to in this resolution. And they even say that their number one objective in the state of Mississippi was, of course, the certain tax reform. They even claim that the tax in Mississippi was 10 times greater than Missouri, which is a lie on its face, because Missouri is 1.5%, while Mississippi was 6%. Even in their recommendations, they said a bill should be passed, or the tax law, a bill providing for income tax reductions in increments of 0.5% a year until the rate is reduced to at least 4%. So the gentlemen of the Manufacturers Association was willing to pay 4% income tax, yet the legislature saw fit in the House to abolish it all. And that the Senate, by an amendment, put in a 3% floor base, which is still 1 cent less than the Manufacturers Association was willing to pay. So we say that the boys are doing all right for themselves, and that income tax should not go down to 3%. That's why we have introduced this resolution here, and I just wanted to point out that we did have the facts and figures, and there might be a question of about how much sales tax or how much taxes in Mississippi was paid by the people. I want to point out here in this other material that I also gave out as a state tax collections by major source in 1958, showing that 72% of the taxes collected in Mississippi is the regressive tax or the sales tax. And that has been the figure since 1954, because I have one as late as that on other material that we put out. So you can see what the big boys are doing to us. Yes, in this material, the big boys say we're carrying a load, and they got the worker about mashed to death with high cost of living and regressive taxes. So we can't stop on an educational program to try to convince the legislature and show them that we are the people, and if we go far enough, it'll probably wind up after a while with some kind of a revolution on taxation instead of just a resolution. Thank you.
Any further discussion? You ready for the question? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. All opposed by the same sign. Motion carried and so ordered. Brother Taylor.
I believe you have resolution number 12. And following number 12 will be number 17, so you might have that ready. That also might help save a little bit of time. Resolution number 12, submitted by IWA Local 470 Jackson, CWA Local 3511 Jackson, subject federal sales tax. Whereas the National Association of Manufacturers and U.S. Chamber of Commerce has set up a committee with the misleading name of Tax Equality Committee with an office in Chicago for the purpose of shifting a greater portion of the tax burden onto the backs of the working people of America, and whereas our method now being pursued is to repeal the amendment of the United States Constitution to wipe out the federal income tax, to destroy the principle of tax according to the ability to pay, and substitute a federal sales tax of at least 7%, and whereas the Tax Equality Committee has been making an alarming success by having their proposal already passed by 30 state legislatures, while passage by only 34 legislatures is required to force Congress to submit the proposed amendment to the states for ratification, and will become effective upon the ratification of 38 states. And whereas the representatives of the Tax Equality Committee recently appeared before the Mississippi Legislature in joint session condemning the 16th Amendment of the United States Constitution and asking for its repeal in order to wipe out the federal income tax. These representatives also appeared on an hour-long TV program in Jackson, Mississippi, further condemning the 16th Amendment of the United States Constitution. And whereas, in view of the recent visit of representatives from this committee to the Mississippi State Legislature, and in view of the fact that they need only 4 more state legislatures to adopt their proposal, all delegates assembled in this convention should see the danger and be alerted to the extent that we must fight such misleading programs for our survival. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we go on record as being vigorously opposed to the sneaky program of the Tax Equality Committee and unalterably opposed to a federal sales tax. And be it further resolved that all delegates to this convention alert their different local unions to the dangers involved in the program of the Tax Equality Committee, and that all members do all within their power to prevent the legislature of Mississippi from passing the resolution or from ratifying the amendment of the Tax Equality Committee. And be it finally resolved that we send copies of this resolution to all members of the state legislature, the governor, the lieutenant governor, and the secretary of state. Mr. Chairman, the committee concurs in the resolution, and I move its adoption.
You have heard the recommendation of the committee. Is there a second? Any discussion? Brother Hannon.
Mr. Chairman, this is another very important subject, and I'm sure that there's some people here that's not aware of the fact that these gentlemen out of or a subcommittee of this Equality Committee visited the state legislature in Mississippi and did have an hour-long program condemning the 16th Amendment and wanting repeal of it, with the whole scheme behind it of this federal income tax. And in this material that I've prepared and give to you, you will find also outlined, besides the tax structure in all states, a report says the growing sales tax menace. Also, you will find one there that says the families are hardest hit. Booming sales taxes hit working families hardest. The President of the United States has study committees, of course, and advisory committees, just like the governor of the state of Mississippi. This is a recap of some of the material and requests that this committee gave to tax writers on the Congressional Committee last year, along in the latter part of November, for them to present to Congress in this year's session. So they aim, in the end, to do like Russia. United States officials, and Russia believes in the same thing, taxing the poor. They don't care nothing about the ability to pay. They want to tax the poor. So their aim is to put so much tax on us that we can't hardly bear the burden. They're making the picture look bad because they say the sales tax and the federal sales tax is the fairest tax. Well, brother, I hope that I'll have a privilege to go to South America somewhere in that, because I'm taxed to death now. Thank you.
Any other discussion on the motion? Not all in favor, let it be known by saying aye. All opposed, no. Ayes have it, and so ordered. Brother Taylor.
Resolution number 17, submitted by IWA Local 470, Jackson, CWA Local 3511, Jackson. Subject, tax cut for lower income groups or income tax cut. Whereas there has been a bill introduced in the Congress of the United States known as the Kennedy Morris Roosevelt Bill, Senate 1046 and H.R. 4488, and whereas the purpose of this bill is to raise the personal income tax exemption from the present $600 to $800, and whereas our economy is not at present at a healthy condition, as we have been experiencing a serious recession, and recent reports show a rise in unemployment, and whereas the cost of living has been steadily on the rise since World War II to such an extent that it would take $800 or possibly more to buy what $600 would buy in 1948 when the $600 exemption was established by Congress, and whereas this $200 raise in exemption would be equivalent to the workers actually receiving an increase in his or her particular wage, which is not only desirable at this time, but it should take place. Whereas such a raise and the exemption from $600 to $800 in the income tax would be a direct stimulant to our economy by the increased purchasing power of the worker who spends most of his income for goods and services. Whereas we feel that any cost or tax loss to the United States government by raising the exemption to individuals could be quickly and easily recouped with additional revenue coming to the government by eliminating many of the particular loopholes and provisions that presently exist under our tax system. And whereas we point out one shining example of millions of tax revenue going down the drain by such excessive, we've inserted the word depletion, allowances of 27% for gas and petroleum companies at the wellhead, as well as other mining and extractive operations, whereas other loopholes would be greatly tightened, where executives of large companies are allowed excessive expense accounts that are many times diverted for personal use, and whereas Congress should take definite and affirmative action of the get-rich-quick scheme of granting of stock options to executives over and above salaries and expenses, which are providing a new set of millionaires throughout the nation, wherein they pay no tax whatsoever on these stocks until they sell them, and then they only pay the capital gains, which carries with it a maximum of only 25% income tax. And whereas we think that by closing these loopholes, the government could easily recoup from $9 to $18 billion in taxes yearly that they are losing under the present tax system. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the delegates assembled and this convention of the Mississippi Labor Council, AFL-CIO, go on record for such an increase in these income tax exemptions and urge Congress to pass the Kennedy-Morris-Roosevelt bill without further delay. And be it further resolved that we send copies of this resolution to all members of the Ways and Means House Committee, Finance Senate Committee, also to all congressmen and senators in the state of Mississippi. The committee concurs in the resolution as read and corrected, and I move its adoption.
You've heard the committee's report. The motion is to adopt the resolution. We have a second. We have any discussion on the motion? Brother Hannah.
Brother Chairman, J.B. Hannah, the Executive Board. Again, I want to point out how important this is, and I think it's possible that this may be another resolution that we may just give lip service to. But to avoid that and to give you the privilege of having the people to write to, I have prepared and have just passed out information or the names of the committee on the Morris-Roosevelt Kennedy bill, and it's Senate Bill 1046 is referred to in the resolution, with the names of the committee, House Ways and Means Committee in the House and the Finance Committee in the Senate. So let's don't forget that Ms. Murray and other speakers here today has pointed out how much this one important piece of legislation would be worth to you in money. Somewhere between 6 and 7 cents an hour. And the remark was made that people had struck for 8. Yes, I've been on strike for less than that. So I think that a 4-cent stamp wrote to the congressmen and senators of this state, of your own state, along with all committee members. As you notice, you hear representatives in Mississippi Senate talk about what great committees they have and how much seniority. I see they're not on either one of these, so you'll have to write them as they are, Honorable so-and-so from whatever district you're from. But write them, and I say that 4 cents investment for a 6 cents an hour raise, that's $2.40 a week on a 40-hour week. It's more if you make overtime. So I think that's a pretty good investment. For just roughly $2 a week for 50 weeks is $100. It's $200 if you got more. Depends on your dependents, see? Of course, I'm going to have to look out and find me some or something to add on to my list. Better be careful what I say. I think my wife's back here. Thank you, Brother Randy.
We have any other discussion? You ready for the question? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. All opposed by the same sign. Motion carried and so ordered. Brother Taylor.
For these last several resolutions, it seemed to be an endurance contest between Brother Hanner and myself. I believe I've won the fight. I'm having the last word anyway. This is number 17 was the conclusion of the committee's report. We have finished. That's the final report. And I'd like to name the committee and then ask that the committee be dismissed. The committee was composed of A.R. Gardner, C.O. Ray, J.B. Hanner, Robert E. Thompson, G.R. Ball, M.P. Aldridge, Mr. Hulsey, Sanford D. Fulton. This concludes the report of the committee, and I move that the committee be dismissed.
You've heard the motion to dismiss the committee with the thanks of the convention. Do we have any discussion on that motion? If not, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. All opposed by the same sign. And I'm certainly sure that all of you agree that this committee has really done a job. They spent a lot of time, and certainly they should be congratulated for the fine work they've done. At this time, I would like to have the privilege of interrupting the business at hand for just a few minutes. The Honorable Mayor has arrived outside. He has a busy schedule, and I felt like that he should be afforded an opportunity to appear before the convention before it adjourned, because we have enjoyed ourselves so much here in Vicksburg. The people have been so wonderful to us here. And I've took it upon myself to invite him back. So I would like to suspend the order of business for a few minutes and invite the Honorable Mayor back just for a few minutes. Come on in, Johnny. There's no need for me to introduce him again. You know too much about him already. If you hang around, you might learn something else. Johnny.
Thank you very much, Claude. I really apologize for interrupting. I know you're having a very busy business session here this afternoon, but I thought I would be remiss in my duties if I didn't come back and say this one thing to you, that we have received nothing but compliments on your organization, on you as individuals, and the manner in which you have conducted your convention. On behalf of those city officials that I represent and all of our citizens in Vicksburg, I want to extend to you a cordial invitation to come back and have your convention in our city, and it wouldn't be too soon for us if you just set it up for next year. You can just go right ahead and do that now, although I know that you have a committee that goes into these things at a later time. But I'd like to compliment those officials of your organization for the very fine planning that they did. I worked with them several times. They were over here, and I saw that they knew what they were doing, and I have seen it bear fruit because they've had a very well-organized convention. I've had the pleasure of meeting many of you that I didn't know before. Those of you whom I have not met personally, I'm sorry, and I hope that I do have that pleasure sometime before too long. I've certainly enjoyed meeting Dan and the other area officials who have been here. And sincerely, we want you to come back to see us real soon. And if anybody's had a good time in Vicksburg since they've been here, let me hear you say it. Thank you very much.
Johnny, I think that the delegates have already expressed to you the way they feel, and there's no need for me to go into details on that. But I want to say, on behalf of our people, that certainly we have never been treated any better in any place in this state of ours than we have here in Vicksburg. And if we had enough communities in this state of ours as we do have here in Vicksburg, I think this state would really be in good shape today. And while I'm on that subject, we want to extend our appreciation also to the people who have done the work in this convention in behalf of the city. They have really done a magnificent job. I'm talking about the fellows that set up the auditorium here and that have had everything ready for us when we got in here. Also, I want to say that our people really enjoyed themselves down at the party last night, and we want to show our appreciation just a little bit to the boys who put the show on and played the music down there. We appreciated that very much. At this time, I want to find out if we have any guests that haven't been recognized in this convention, because I want to make sure that we do accord those people the opportunity of being recognized. I know we have 3 wives of 3 delegates that I haven't asked to be recognized yet, so I'm going to call on those people at this time. We have Mrs. Charles Savage. Is she here? We have Mrs. Gardner, A.R. Gardner. Mrs. J.B. Broadus, wife of one of the delegates. Well, we are certainly happy to have had these ladies with us, and we hope that they have enjoyed the convention and that they'll come back with you again to another one. Do we have anyone else that hasn't had the opportunity to be recognized in the convention yet? Well, at this time, we will continue with the business at hand, and I understand that the chairman of the Constitution and Bylaws Committee is ready to give you a report. Brother Doggett.
Mr. Chairman and delegates, the Constitution and Bylaws Committee has been in session and reconsidered resolution number 1 and number 1A. Now, I'll just note the changes, and we'll take number 1 first. The only change that we've seen fit to make in resolution number 1 is where it's submitted by Jackson County Central Labor Union. That will be changed to read, submitted by Constitution and Bylaws Committee. And then there's no further changes in resolution number 1. We move the committee concurs in this resolution, and I, Mr. Chairman, move that it be adopted.
You've heard the committee's report. The motion is to adopt the resolution as amended. Do we have any discussion on the motion? Brother Bruton.
Just for the purpose of clarifying, to be sure that there is not an oversight, the proposal is to amend section 1A of Article 5, and the only change that has been made is in line 9 by changing the term from 1 year to 2 years. I believe that's correct. They quote that section in the resolution, but they do not bring forward the additional sentence to provide that the term of the members of the board will run concurrently with the executive officers, and I wanted to be sure that it was the intention that that language would be brought forward in the Constitution as it presently is. Is that correct?
That's correct, Brother Bruton. It's in there and it remains in there as such.
Well, that was the only point of inquiry that I had, was to be sure that that remained in, or else you would not be electing a board to run for the 2-year term.
Yes, that matter was clarified in the discussion yesterday, and it's pointed out that that language would remain as it is now. Any further discussion? Brother back here.
Brother Chairman, I am Donald Boilermaker, 693 Pascagoula. In our Constitution and bylaws, there's certain procedures set out to bring these things before the convention. I feel that they haven't been followed. When they haven't been followed, it is the chair's job to rule them out of order. If the chair does not do it, then it is the people in this convention to see that the Constitution and bylaws are lived up to. If we do not intend to live up to them, then there's no use having them. This amendment was not brought in order, which has been pointed out to this convention and to our president. So therefore, it is out of order. It's not that I'm against the amendment, but I do believe in living up to our Constitution and bylaws. And if it can't be brought in order, then there's one thing to it, it's out of order. And I'd like to so see that the chair or the members of this convention so rule. Thank you, sir.
Looks like we're going back into the woods again. I ruled yesterday that the resolution was in order. And I certainly would have had to rule that it was in order to have allowed it before the convention. The convention yesterday upheld my ruling. If you'd like to go into that again today, then we will. My ruling's still the same, that the resolution is in order at this point. We have corrected the technicality that appeared to make it illegal. Now the resolution before the House is the resolution submitted by the committee instead of by the Central Labor Union. And that's the proposition you have before you. Now, if that ruling is not satisfactory, then an appeal can be made to the convention, and we'll take a vote on the proposition. Brother Doswell.
To answer the statement that you just made, the bottom part of the last page there, that the committee will have the right to amend these constitutional amendments that's sent in. They have the right to do that. That is the way I read that. If I am wrong, then I am out of order. But the way I read the last two lines in it, that the committee has the right to change any of those amendments that is sent in. And that's the way it reads to me. If I am wrong, then I am out of order.
I don't intend to get into a discussion out of order here. I've stated my position on it. I made the statement that if the ruling did not suit the brother, that if he requested a vote of the convention to determine my position, then I'd be glad to take that vote. That request has not been forthcoming, and I'd like now at this time to ask you to confine your remarks to the motion before the House.
Mr. Chairman.
Brother Bruton.
To clarify the situation, in that the resolution is properly before the body emanating from the Constitution and Bylaws Committee, I think the chair is eminently correct, and I do think that this body should sustain him if that question arises. And the question is before the House now upon a motion made and seconded, sir, and I call you a question on that motion.
Question's been called for. You ready for the question?
Question.
All in favor of the motion, please signify it by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion is carried, apparently by unanimous vote. The motion was to adopt the committee's report. Brother Doggett.
Mr. Chairman, Resolution 1A has been reconsidered by the Constitution and Bylaws Committee. And the only change we made in this resolution is where it says submitted by Jackson County Central Labor Union. That will be changed to read submitted by Constitution and Bylaws Committee. That's the only change made in Resolution 1A. The committee concurs in this resolution, and I move that it be adopted.
You've heard the motion, and there was a second. The situation is the same as the one you've just voted on. Do we have any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. All opposed with the same sign. The motion's carried and so ordered.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to say on behalf of the Constitution and Bylaws Committee that this concludes our report. I want to thank each and every member that served on this committee. They did a wonderful job. It's very cooperative in every way, and I move that we be discharged at this time.
You've heard the chairman move to discharge this committee with the thanks of the convention. Do we have any discussion on that motion? If not, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. All opposed with the same sign. Motion carried and so ordered. Not having a written record of the convention, it being recorded by tape, I'm going to have to determine whether or not we have other committees to report or not, or whether or not we've completed all committee reports. Do we have any other committee reports to come before the convention yet, other than the election committee? Credentials committee. Well, I meant other than that, but I want to get that one last. Do we have any other committees to report outside of credentials and the election committee? If not, at this time, we will call on the chairman of the Credentials Committee to give us that committee's final report. Brother Gager.
Mr. Chairman, the Credentials Committee has 6 additional delegates to be seated. From Carpenters Local 2684, Norris Lewis. Bus Drivers Local 1208, T.J. Means. IBEW Local 605, E.L. Holmes. Boilermakers Local 693, Pat Sullivan. Carpenters Local 1471, B.R. Upton. Painters Local 1192, J.W. Sisk. I move that these delegates be seated.
You've heard the committee's report, the motion to seat the delegates named. Do we have any discussion on the motion? Not all in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried and so ordered. Brother Gager.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all the delegates for their cooperation, and to thank the members of my committee, and also the additional members of the committee that I drafted to help the committee, and move that the committee be dismissed.
You've heard the motion to dismiss the committee with the thanks of the convention. Do we have any discussion on that motion? If not, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. All opposed with the same sign. Motion carried and so ordered. Before we ask for the chairman of the election committee, I have a telegram here that I want to read, because after we go into this election, where people are going to get kind of scattered off, and I'm afraid some of them might not be here, and I want them to hear this telegram. We have others, of course, when it comes down to the selecting the convention site for next year and so forth, but I want you to hear this one. just in case some of you might not be around. This is addressed to myself as President of the State Labor Council here at Vicksburg. Dear Brother Ramsey, on behalf of the Communication Workers of America, I want to extend greetings to all who are gathered at this most important meeting of the Mississippi State AFL-CIO Council. Your friends everywhere recognize the tremendous challenges you face at this very moment in the Mississippi political arena. The efforts of the business community to wreck the workmen's compensation law in your state are well known. Likewise, the efforts of those same opponents of organized labor to embed the so-called right-to-work law in the Mississippi State Constitution are notorious. These challenges will require tremendous new activities on the part of the labor movement at the local and community level. Our hopes and our good wishes go out to you as you tackle these and other great problems. I am certain that success will crown your efforts. With every good wish for a most fruitful and successful convention, I remain sincerely and fraternally J.A. Birney, President, Communication Workers of America. I understand that Joe was over here with the CWA some time ago, and he feels about like we do about Vicksburg. So we are certainly happy to know that Joe especially is thinking about us today. At this time, I'm going to recognize the chairman of your legislative committee, or your legislative vice president, rather, because he has a very important request to make of you delegates at this time. Brother Ferguson.
Thank you, Brother Chairman. Delegates, yesterday in my report, I called your attention to one remaining item on the Senate calendar. Since that time, I called the clerk of the Senate, State Senate, to find out if it had been taken up. So at this time, I want to tell you that it hasn't been taken up. It's about number 21, about 20 or 21 place on the calendar in that position. And one of the requests that I would like to make of you is this, that you send your senator a telegram asking him to vote against this resolution when it comes on the floor. If you'll get a pencil, I'll give you the number of it. House Concurrent Resolution number 43. The resolution is that the right-to-work law will be inserted into the Constitution. The Senate has adjourned until 10 o'clock tomorrow, and you have time to send this telegram, or if you had rather call him, call your senator, would be all right. But I think it's necessary that we make this final plea to the Senate because this is the last chance to stop it before it goes to the people. And it's doubtful, if it ever reaches the vote of the people, that we can keep it out. The governor will have nothing to say about it because it'll be passed by 2/3 majority if it passes. His signature won't have to go on it, so we can't go to the governor to get him to do anything about it. There's one other thing that you could do. You might call the governor if he's your friend. Go see him. He proposed this in his campaign, and you might get him to get off of it. If he would, he could help us that way, but that's the only way the governor can help you. This is probably the last plea that I'll make to you to anything pertaining in this session of the legislature, and I certainly hope you'll take action on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Ferguson. For the benefit of those, if there would happen to be anyone here who doesn't know the name of their senator, then Brother Ferguson would be glad to furnish you that information. We'll get it for you. At this time, I'd like to read you a couple of telegrams that I'm a little late in reading because I got so doggone busy I didn't get my mail around here for a couple of days. and I'm going to have to apologize for not having read these wires at the beginning of the convention, or at the first day anyhow. This wire is from our good friend Bill Williams, Executive Secretary of the Arkansas Labor Council. Will you please convey to your delegates the warmest good wishes of the Arkansas State AFL. We wish you every success in your every deliberation, and may this convention be the most fruitful yet. Signed by Bill. Also, we have one from our President George Meany, addressed to the convention. Please convey to assembled delegates my personal good wishes for most successful session and successful days ahead for your organization and membership. Signed by George Meany. Do we have any other business to come before the convention before we proceed with the election? An announcement? Sister Murray would like to make an announcement.
Thank you. For the benefit of those of you who may be here from Jackson, Mississippi, may I tell you that tomorrow there will be 3 meetings in Jackson, Mississippi, which we hope to meet with women. I will be there. We hope to be meeting with various women of the labor movement in Jackson. And Mr. Bruton has the times and places. I hope any of you who is here from Jackson, whether you're a woman, you'll come, and if you're a man, you'll send your wife. Mr. Bruton, can you tell us the times?
That will be at 10, 2, and 7:30 tomorrow.
Where?
At the IBEW Hall, 116 Claiborne Street,
Mm-hmm.
where the ladies have their workshop, and then on Friday at 10 and at 2.
Thank you very much. And then on Saturday and Sunday in Pascagoula, there will be a meeting at 10 o'clock in the morning on Saturday in Pascagoula, and I'll have to ask someone from Pascagoula to tell me where. Where? The IBEW Hall in Pascagoula. And I hope that any of you here, any of the women who are here from Pascagoula, or any man who lives in Pascagoula, will send his wife in order that we may recruit more women for our program. And finally, may I say to you that those of you who work as volunteers for 100 hours or more in this program received from President Meany a very beautiful scroll, personally done for each one of you by an artist, and also a lapel pin, which is awarded by Mr. McDevitt and by the Women's Activities Department, and which makes you a member of the 100-Hour Club of Women of Labor. And I want you to know that Mrs. McGee of Vicksburg is the first woman I know of in the state of Mississippi who's won that honor. Are there any other women here who have? I think she is the first, and we haven't yet made the presentation, but I do want her husband and the others from here to know that she will receive that award very shortly. And I hope that next year, when we have this convention, 2 years from now, huh?
We'll have one, but
All right, whenever the next one comes, that we'll have 100 women standing up here getting their awards. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sister Murray. Before I recognize the chairman of the election committee, I want to call your attention to the fact that if this right-to-work proposition passes the Senate, it's going to be necessary that we in this trade union movement do a tremendous job of educating the public in regards to this issue. I intend to call your executive board together tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, and among the things that this board is going to consider is this proposition of putting on a slam-bang educational program in the state of Mississippi in regards to this project. It's my opinion that once the true facts reach the people in this state, that this matter will be rejected, and only by that approach can we hope to vote it down. And I'll assure you at this time that that thing will be given a lot of serious consideration. And we're going to ask all of you in this fight to exert every effort that you can in the communities in which you reside when we come to see you. At this time, I'm going to recognize the chairman of the election committee, Brother Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would ask each of you to take your constitutions and turn to page 12. Section 2. That has to do with the nomination and election of officers of this body. Section 2 reads, "The voting for all officers and members of the General Executive Board may be by acclamation for any of the positions for which there is no contest." We have two such positions, that of President and Secretary-Treasurer. Their names will not appear on the ballot. If there is a contest for any of the positions, the presiding officer shall appoint an elections committee of 7 persons, no 2 of whom shall come from the same city or the same national or international union. That has been done. The committee shall prepare ballots, conduct the election, and tally the results in accordance with the rules of procedure which may be adopted by the convention. The committee shall report promptly the number of valid votes received by each candidate to the presiding officer, who shall declare the results of the convention. Section 3. The candidate receiving the highest number of votes in the category shall be declared elected, subject to the provisions of Article 5, Section 1B and 2. Should the results produce a violation of said sections, the candidates whose election would violate Article 5, Section 1B and 2 shall be eliminated. Such elimination occur, ballots shall then proceed between the 2 candidates having the highest total number of votes. Ties shall be resolved by a roll call vote of the convention. The election committee has seen fit to bring a motion before the convention to proceed with the election of the officers. A ballot has been prepared. On that ballot is the names of the 4 candidates for vice president and 12 candidates for the board. The wording, vote for 3 for the vice presidents and vote for 10 of the board members. And Mr. Chairman, I would like to present this motion. Then we will proceed with the election. The election committee moves that the ballot be voted as per instructed on the ballot. That is, for vice president, vote for 3. For board members, vote for 10. Any ballot not so marked will not be counted. Mr. Chairman, the election committee so moves.
You've heard the motion, and as I understand the motion, that is simply this, that you would have to vote for 3 people for vice president and 10 people, 10 spots for the board member in order for your ballot to be counted. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Do we have any discussion on the motion? You ready for the question? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, Motion carried and so ordered. At this time, it gives me a great deal of pleasure to turn this convention over to the election committee and let them proceed with the election. They will now give you the instructions as to how they're going to set it up, and we'll go into it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The mechanics of the balloting will be thus. The election committee will be on the platform. You will line up and pass here as you are called. One of the committee members will present you with a ballot. The next committee member will concur with you as to the number of votes that you're entitled to. Will so mark your ballot with the number of votes and put the seal of the committee on that ballot. You will take that ballot, pass on to the back of the convention hall, stopping anywhere you so desire, and vote your ballot. The election box, the ballot box, and is in the back of the hall, and you'll deposit your ballot there. At this time, I'd like to ask the committee to proceed with the setup here at the platform, and we will continue with the election. I believe Brother Ramsey has something at this time.
Yes, I just want to say that after the election gets under headway here, it will be necessary to recess the convention. In other words, we can't handle any business here for some 2 hours. With the consent of the convention, I will recess the convention as the presiding officer until it is now 3:30, until 6 o'clock. That will give them an hour and a half to proceed with conducting the election and the counting of the ballots. I don't believe that's enough time, but at that time we can determine how much longer it will take. But this hour and a half will give you an opportunity to vote and go to your hotel and check out and get your things in your automobile and things of that kind. So if that's agreeable, after you've voted, then you can stand recessed until 6 o'clock. That's right. I'm sorry, I'm looking at my watch wrong. You're absolutely correct, 5 o'clock. It would be 5 o'clock, sorry.
Mr. Chairman?
We have a couple of things yet to take care of, and we can't adjourn the convention until the election's over with.
What I want to know, after the last vote, then it's recessed, or when it's voted?
It's simply recessed until 5 o'clock. In other words, you're taking a break till the election's over with. We'll come back here. The newly elected officers will have to be installed, and then the matter of selecting the convention site will be considered also. All right, Brother Chairman, it's all yours.
Where's the seal? All right, we want it right here. Okay, all right, you be right there. Now you're gonna have one of these. All right, okay.